This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Hello out there, and welcome to episode 161 of the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sedita, and today we have the pleasure of being joined by Scott Whatley. He is the president of Paradigm Capital Group. Scott, how you doing today?
Fantastic, Mike. How's it going?
It is going great. I am just trucking along, excited to learn a little bit more about your business. In case you don't know about our business and what we do and how Good Neighbor Podcast got started, back in 2020 during COVID, when everybody had to be socially distant, the Good Neighbor Podcast was born as a way for business owners to really get their messaging out to the community. And over the last 4 years, we've developed into a national brand. We have podcasts in South Florida, here in Tampa, Virginia, Atlanta, Denver. And I'm lucky enough to be the guy here in Tampa that gets to talk to business owners and entrepreneurs like you. So with that being said, just tell us a little bit first about Paradigm Capital Group.
Paradigm Capital Group is a full-service financial firm. We help clients here not only in the Tampa Bay area but around the country as well. So when you're looking at getting up the financial mountain, we can help with that, or even getting down that financial mountain and transitioning from the workforce into the retirement force. We can help with that as well. Kids' college funds, all that kind of stuff.
So that's what I was going to say. So it runs the gamut. No matter what stage you're at in your journey, financial journey, you guys can help them. And I'm assuming you do some sort of like client, I don't want to say, I was going to say interrogation, but kind of like a client.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is an interrogation.
It's a little kicking all the tires and like figuring out what people did for the past 20 years to get them in the position they're in or not in. So it's a lot of that interview process early on to figure out where they are and where they want to be.
Yeah, we actually call it a discovery. So yeah, we have the discovery call or the discovery meeting and finding out exactly, what your needs are, what your concerns are, how can we help? We do a lot of education, because we find that no matter where you are in that financial journey, there's a lot of people that just aren't really educated about their money or where it is, how to spend it, how fast to spend it, all that kind of stuff.
It's funny. In a past life, I managed in a call center for an insurance company, and the main product in this, it was an insurance company, but their main product that I worked with was a variable annuity, which is, it's more complex than your standard savings account, but it's, there's other stuff that's a little crazier, but depending on the annuity, whether you're guaranteed options and, roll-ups and distribution period and all this other stuff. And I can't tell you how many times we got calls in this call center where someone would call up and say, hey, can you tell me what I have? Like they're invested with hundreds of thousands of dollars from their previous 401k that they 1035'd into or rolled over into this annuity product, and they have no idea what they have. Now that's probably not a good indication of their financial advisor because they're putting them in it, but there's probably some reason why they were in it. They just didn't quite understand it. So to the point that you're making of people just not really understanding what their money is doing or what it can do, is that a pretty bad epidemic that you see regularly?
Yeah, there's the four most important financial questions that everyone needs to know is, first and foremost, how much money do you need to save on an annual basis in order for you to retire at the age that you want to retire, adjusted for inflation, and your money lasts as long as you do? What's that number? Most people have no idea what that number is. Second
Right.
is what rate of return? What rate of return do you need, year after year in order for you to retire at the age you want to retire and your money lasts as long as you do, right? And then, the third question is, so you got how much you have to save, you've got rate of return, and then you got how long, right? How long do I need to save in order for me to retire? If I'm saving, $6,000 a year, $10,000 a year, $40,000 a year, and I want to retire at this age, how long, can I do that for and be able to retire successfully? And the most important question is on the fourth one is, if I don't make it and I don't save that much, how much am I going to have to reduce my standard of living in retirement? Right. Yeah. So first and foremost, when you meet with us at Paradigm, those are the first four questions we answer for you right off the bat.
And so someone comes to meet with you at Paradigm. Where are you guys located? I know you said you service all over the United States. I'm sure you're licensed in a bunch of different states. Do you guys have a brick and mortar shop, or are you generally, like after COVID, a lot of people just work remotely, but do you guys have a shop?
Yeah, we before COVID we definitely did, and then after COVID we have a lot of Zoom online presence.
Yeah,
we do that. I mean, everyone did, right? But now we currently reside here in Wesley Chapel in the Wiregrass Mall at the Signature Workspaces.
Oh, okay.
We're in Suite 216. So the Signature Workspaces is right across from the Pottery Barn, the Azteca restaurant, and then the Living Room restaurant. It's right here in that roundabout.
Yeah, right in the round. I know my buddy just opened a real estate company right in that little section right there. It's a great section. It's right like in the heart of, I don't want to say Pasco County because it's not in the heart of Pasco County, but as far as Wesley Chapel goes, when you can go as far north as like Epperson and as far as west, as like where the outlets are, which is considered Lutz, that little Wiregrass section is great. My only knock on that entire little section is parking. Like, do you guys have a designated, and this is a serious question for that particular plaza. Do you guys have any designated parking? There's none, right? It's just wherever you find a spot when you get there.
Yeah, there's no designated parking, but typically during like that 8 to 5, 9 to 5 time,
it's not bad.
Monday through Friday, you'll be able to find parking. It's kind of after that 5 o'clock when dinner's starting, and then even on the weekends tends to be a little tough.
Well, it's nice, too. You have a lot of stuff there, too. If you're in the office, you can entertain clients if you have them in. You have places to take them. There's a bunch of good options to be around in that area, which is really cool.
So right here in the Signature Workspaces, we actually have an event space. And if you open up the entire wall, it'll fit 125 people.
So when is how long have you guys been there? Because that's fairly new. I think the Chamber of Commerce is in that building, too, right?
Correct. Yep. It's been open since November.
Since November. So when are we having the Paradigm Capital welcome party, like the housewarming party at the opened up suite there? Are we going to open the wall and invite like 200 people and have some tequila shots, or what are we going to do?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that actually. So some of the things that we're working up is women, wine, and wealth events.
Okay.
We're working on something like that. Or wealth and whiskey events, because we partnered with Vom Foss, which is right across the street.
Yeah, great place.
So they've got beautiful bourbons and whiskeys and tequilas imported from all over the world. So we definitely will be broadcasting that as soon as we lock some things down. But we'll charcuterie events, things like that. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
What do you live up in that Wesley Chapel area? Is the commute bad for you, or are you driving from I don't know Ocala to come down here to go?
I live in Epperson, so
okay, all right, yeah, cool, very cool.
I live 5 minutes from the lagoon.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, that's not a bad commute. The only part about that commute that's tough is if you get caught behind somebody at one of the various traffic lights. Until they started opening up these now you can come down like Meadow Point, right? Like Meadow Point Parkway's a little bit more open, but that's still like one lane. Well,
if you make that left-hand turn off 54 right there by Walmart, it'll drop you off right on 56, and then you make that right-hand turn right past Cooper's Hawk, and then you're right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's nice. It's good that it's good. It's not like you have to, like some people live in Wesley Chapel and work in Tampa and have to fight that commute. This commute isn't that bad right now, but the way Wesley Chapel is going, you never know. It's getting bigger and bigger by the minute, and all that stuff down 56 towards 301 is getting bigger and bigger. New people coming in every day.
Well, I have a developer friend, that a client of mine actually, that we were talking about the future growth of this area, and he was saying in the next 25 years, between say like 52 and over here off of 54, they're projected almost 700,000 more people.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy because all that stuff's building up east of where your location is. But then the other part of Pasco County that's insane is, and I don't know when the last time you've been up that way, 41 and 52, where the Moffitt Center is and Angeline is going in. Like that whole area is just, people are moving out of Tampa or moving from up north and don't want to be near the city and are close enough. But the cool thing about Wesley Chapel is there's so many amenities around there. Like I lived in Seven Oaks for a while, and I don't really need to go any further than a 8-mile radius around that area. I mean, Epperson, you guys finally have a a giant Publix, which is, from what I hear, is like a nightclub in there. You go in there, you got wine.
It's their beer and wine. Yeah. People go there just to hang out at the grocery store.
So tell me a little bit of your personal story. I mean, have you always been a finance guy? Did you work for a big firm and then decided to go out on your own, or did you kind of stumble into this? How did you get to where you're at?
A little bit of all of the above. The reason why I really have a passion for this is I saw what my parents went through in 2000. So, I grew up in California, and both my parents worked. My dad worked for Hormel meat packers. My mom worked for Shasta beverages, right? We weren't a rich family. And, they were doing their thing.
Shasta is pulling one. That's going deep. That's like old school.
Hey, I mean, when I was younger, my mom would get free cases of Shasta cola, the grape, the lemon lime, the cola.
Yeah.
I would put those back in the day, and this was in the 80s. I'd put those in a cooler, and I would stand there at the bridge at the golf course, and I'd sell them for like 50 cents a piece.
So you've always been an entrepreneur. So the whole part of this story is you've always been an entrepreneur. So yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. So you're selling your Shasta. You didn't grow up wealthy, but your passion is.
Yeah. So when I saw what happened to my parents in 2000 when the markets dropped, their 401ks and things went down to they took a hit, and okay, things happen, right? And then it started rebounding, 2002, 2004, but then the 2008 happened, right? And they got punched in the mouth again.
Yeah.
And what was a real eye opening for me was seeing my dad, who's the breadwinner, providing for the family, that whole, kind of thing.
Right.
His health slipped because of the amount of money in retirement. And we took a hit on our living and all that kind of stuff. So what I kept hearing over and over again was we don't have enough investable assets to be able to even talk to someone to protect ourselves. Right. And then my dad had some heart issues, and then he had a stroke because of it. Right. And that actually knocked my dad out of the workforce, which then forced my mom to put the family on her back and go to work and provide for us. So that always really stuck with me. So, getting into finance and providing the resources for the common person, whether you've got, you don't have two nickels to rub together or you've got millions of dollars to talk about, I really wanted to be able to provide a resource for the community to be able to start, making phone calls and finding out educational seminars, which we do a lot of, to be able to set themselves up successfully in those down situations, right? Because when you're losing money and all you've saved in a 401k that's all you've got, and now you just lost 50% of it, life seems bleak, right? Yeah. So being able to provide that resource for people to go to ask questions, we partner with estate planning attorneys, we have CPAs, we've got, even people selling their businesses now, right? So we got people, resources when people want to sell their businesses, what's it worth? How do I go into this? What's the process? All that kind of stuff. Wills, trusts, what does that mean? So we've really set up a good resource over here at Paradigm for people to get a very well-rounded look into their situation, whatever means they've got.
So there's a couple things from that. Like, number one, which I hear you say in there, which is an important thing for people to take away from this. Everybody seems to think I have to have all this money to go invest. And they almost get like paralyzed by it and never even get into any type of investment. Or they're a little bit ashamed of the situation they're in, and they don't want to go to somebody and say, hey, I'm in my 30s, 40s, or 50s, and I don't have anything kind of squared away. That's one of the embarrassing things. But, the big thing is, like, what I'm hearing you say is, look, it's never too late to get something together and get it going. And then two, the thing thinking about is you're talking about all these arms that you have kind of out in the community within the Paradigm family, the Paradigm group, whoever. So like if I'm an estate attorney in your group and I have someone that needs X, Y, and Z, they're bringing them in and then they're bringing the team in behind that one particular thing where they think I just need to plan for my estate. But while they're talking, they bring you in and say, Scott, we're doing their estate planning, but they need X, Y, and Z, and that's kind of how you guys approach it from that angle.
Yeah, and the thought process behind that was a lot of times you'll have your advisor, and then you'll have your CPA, and then you'll have your bookkeeper, and then you'll have maybe your estate planning attorney over here, right? And none of them ever talk to each other. Right. So if your advisor is putting together a fantastic plan, and then you take it, you bring it to your CPA, and they're like, This is horrible. What are you doing here? Why are you doing this? Right.
Right.
Well,
you're gonna jam yourself up from a tax standpoint because you did X, Y, and Z.
Right. So we just bring all of those components together so that we know what the right arm is saying to the left arm and the right leg is saying to the left leg, and everyone's working together for the greater good of the client, right? Holding up to that fiduciary responsibility.
So, I mean, the stuff that you work in every day as professional, I mean, there's certain careers, certain professionals that I talk to on a regular basis, whether it's financial guys, real estate guys, physicians of some sort, or, attorneys. You guys have these designations and you do all this stuff, and it's like very, very, to steal a line from the Wolf of Wall Street, very high frequency stuff. You're dealing with numbers and people's finances. When you are not in the office, what do you do to let off steam? What do you do for fun? Well,
I've got 5 kids.
You're sporting events and ballet recitals.
Yeah, no, my oldest son is 26, and he's actually in Tallahassee. He runs 1903, a bar out there. It's actually rated 2 years ago #1 bar in Tallahassee. It's a pretty fancy bar. It's not a FSU party bar, right?
But you're right. There's no keg stands. It's actually a real bar.
Right. Yeah, they're not throwing cornhole out there, right? But it's drinks by the decade. So it's right down from the Capitol building. It's in an old historic library. It's very authentic. It's really, really nice. And then my other son is 21. He goes to UCF. He's in his last year. He actually works full-time at Disney as well. And fun fact, Disney pays for your college. So they're paying for his UCF degree, right?
He doesn't have to wear one of those hot costumes all day long. He's actually just working a straight job. He's not on the floor running around sweating off like a goofy sweat, like running around the park.
Yeah, he got a band scholarship because he's a fantastic trumpet player. So where the niche he got in with Disney was all the high schools that come in and do their performances. He directs those kind of things.
That's pretty awesome.
He navigates it. So yeah.
So does he want to? If he's going to UCF, does he want to pursue a career in music, or is he going to go straight and do like a straight gig?
I don't like every college kid that gets out. It's kind of like, I got one side here and one side there.
Yeah.
He's got a bright future because of what he's established at Disney. So, being able to coordinate, music events through the Disney Corporation might be, or he might want to go to France and do some overseas. I don't know.
Right.
I've got twin boys.
The other 3? Where are the other 3?
Yeah, I got twin boys that are 18. They graduate from Seminole High School here this year, next month.
Okay.
Logan got a D1 scholarship for volleyball to Culver Stockton in Missouri, so he's going there. And my other son, Jacob, who will be graduating with his AA degree, dual enrolled, he actually started an e-commerce online business. So he kind of followed that entrepreneurship. So he's basically establishing, that whole thing and breaking into that niche.
So it's you and 5 boys and your wife?
And I have a daughter that's 9.
Oh, that poor girl's boyfriends.
She's chasing unicorns and loves rainbows and glitter, right? Like she is the baby. I'll tell you what.
That's pretty great. So she's in store for it, and whoever she ends up eventually having interest in is definitely in store for it. So all the boys are kind of doing their thing. She's just chasing unicorns and being a little girl. Is she into cheering or gymnastics, or is she a tomboy? She's chasing unicorns. She's not a tomboy.
She actually adores Logan and loves volleyball. So she wants to go. She wants to do the whole volleyball thing, but she loves the lagoon and meeting friends and being social. So her thing is going to be either probably volleyball, and then she wants to break into soccer as well.
That's good. Keeping them involved in the sports and stuff is important. So when they were growing up, I'm assuming you did a lot of traveling around and going to like baseball and volleyball and soccer events as the traveling parent squad.
Yeah. Logan and Jacob both were really involved with beach volleyball.
Oh wow!
Right. So that SSOVA right there along the whole Clearwater, St. Pete, all the way down to Fort Lauderdale. So we did a lot of beach events, and we did do, quite a bit of traveling. Again, my family's from California. So, we got to go, travel to Napa Valley and see the folks and whatnot. But yeah, we did quite a bit of traveling and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that really is great. I mean, you have a big family. Do you have like other siblings and stuff? Or are you guys the only ones who ended up settling out here in Florida?
We're the only ones in Florida. I have a brother that runs a very large hardwood flooring company outside of San Francisco. My mom's still in California. My cousins are in California. And then on my mom's side, it's all Illinois. It's corn and cows. They got huge farms, huge dairy farms, cornfields, so they're farmers. So
Scott, how do you get here? I mean, like, you're a traveled guy. I mean, did you meet your wife and she just lured you here? I mean, how do you end up in Epperson of all places? Were you getting out of here? I don't know. Like, how do you end up here? How long have you been here?
So I've been here for over 20 years now. And Jacob and Logan's mother finished her residency here.
All right, there you go. All right, I got that. Yeah.
So when she finished school, she stayed here, and we started the family and the whole thing. So that's how we came to Florida.
It's funny about the Wesley Chapel area. We have 2 hospitals within a stone's throw of one another in Wesley Chapel. A third one on the way. Yep. They're anticipating those 700,000 people coming, and that's why all these hospitals are coming there. But it's funny. I spoke to a guy yesterday. He owns a generator company, out in Pinellas. And, I said, how do you get here? Like, talking to him, like, people hear me and they hear me. I talk with my hands, my accent. They're like, you're not from here. Talking to him, and I'm like, you're not from here. Like, how do you get here? And it's funny, same exact scenario. His wife was a resident. She went to medical school. She matched in Tampa, and he goes, I just came here and I fell in love with it, and I just didn't want to leave. So it's funny. Tampa is kind of that destination where you get here and you're like, it's not South Florida, and it's not like Georgia, like country, like rednecky part of the country. So you get a nice mix of both. So you've been here 20 years. You love it. You have this business. Let me ask you this question as a business owner. And I always like to ask this because it really works as an example for people. And it also lets clients see that you've overcome some stuff. Where has there been a time, whether professionally, personally, whatever, where you've run into a hardship or an obstacle where you've said, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but you get through it and you get to where you're at right now?
That's a good question. And actually, I was talking to my son Jacob about it because he's starting the whole e-commerce thing, and he's hitting walls. Breaking into the financial services industry or the insurance world, it's not easy. People and just entrepreneurship and owning your business in and of itself is not easy. And once you get through the trials and tribulations, and you get knocked down and you keep getting back up, and then you finally actually make something of yourself. So many people see the final result of, they drive nice cars, they live in nice houses.
It's so easy.
So they got lucked into it,
right.
But and it's almost like the iceberg analogy, right? You see the tip of the iceberg, but you never see anything how 100%. Massive it is underneath.
Or the duck analogy on the top of the water. They're nice and smooth. You think everything's going spectacular, but you don't know how they're grinding underneath there.
Yeah. So I would say early on in my career, you always struggle with, who do you talk to, who are your clients, how do you get the right clientele? How do you build the reputation? Right. So for years, I was in this industry and I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I was living, paycheck to paycheck, sometimes, not right, struggling. So I was in some pretty difficult situations, just trying to make it with kids and stuff. Right.
Right.
So I think getting through that challenge and being able to keep your head above water and look at adversity in the face and say, I'm not giving up. I'm continuing to do this thing. This is my dream, not anyone else's dream. Blocking out the haters, right? Because you got a lot of people like, why are you still doing that? Or,
the doubters.
So, yeah, all that stuff. So, and all of that really takes a toll, not only on you as a person, as a business owner, entrepreneur, but as a dad, as a husband, as a friend, right? Because if you let that stuff internalize, it'll eat you up, right? So, I think overcoming those trials and tribulations, sticking to where I'm at and what we've done where we've taken paradigm from when it was very, very in its infant stage to where it is now. It takes some intestinal fortitude, you know what I mean? Like you really got to, stick with it. So I think overcoming that was a huge win.
Well, let me ask you this, and not to like open up a therapy session here, but do you think, listen, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. You're absolutely right. People see you and you drive a nice car, or you have time during the day to run and do stuff where other people are doing their 9 to 5, and everybody thinks it's so easy, but they don't see you up at 12 o'clock at night or waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going and grinding. But in listening to your story, do you think part of what helps you have that edge is watching what happened to your dad with the financial situation, where you saw it affect his health, right? Like you saw it, and it wasn't even not that he was starting a bit, but the financial burden of having that impact, thinking you're kind of letting the family down when it was out of, it was a terrorist attack, an unheard of real estate market, and a pandemic were the three things in our lifetime that are like unheard of. But do you think seeing your dad go through that kind of gives you that mettle, that resolve to go, this is not going to take me down?
That definitely has a lot to do with it. I think, but to take it even a step further, because I'm a mama's boy.
Me too.
It's seeing what it did to my mom.
Yeah.
Because my mom worked in a factory, no air conditioning. I mean, she got up in California, it takes you to go 10 miles. It's an hour and a half drive, right? So seeing her get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and not get home until 7, 8 o'clock at night, working weekends, having to work holidays, missing out on baseball games and soccer games and events and stuff. I think that's another thing that really, really drives me is, seeing how hard my mom worked, never gave up, never complained, right? Even till my dad just passed away about 2.5 years ago or so. And even up to his taking care of him to the end, that woman is an absolute saint and never complained and just did what she needed to do. So seeing what she did really drives me in everything that I'm doing. But on top of that, being able to help my clients avoid that situation any way that I can also kept me going, kept me, grinding and not giving up.
Yeah, you saw it firsthand for sure. So let me ask you, as we start to wind this up a little bit, what is the one thing? I'm a prospective client. I'm listening to you tell your story, and I'm hearing this person who has this fortitude to stay on track and grow this business and has this network of folks that you work with. But what is the one thing that if people are listening to this or watching it on our YouTube channel that they say, I got to work with this guy? What's the one thing they need to know?
I would say, and you talked about it a little earlier, a lot of people say I don't have enough investable assets, or maybe I'm in my 40s or 50s and I'm a little embarrassed about where I'm at right now. Dropping that ego and having a conversation, it costs you nothing. So, you don't know what you don't know, right? There's so many different things out there. So if I was to say to anyone out there, you got one shot to retire and make it, right? And you want to meet with somebody, whether it's myself or somebody else, you really want to get a good perspective on where you're at, because the 401k was never designed to be the end all retirement solution, right? And a lot of people are relying on that, so I would definitely encourage people to reach out, to somebody to have that conversation and really set that ego aside and get a plan, get a direction, really find out and get crystal clear as to where you're at financially right now. And that's if you're 25 or if you're 55.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about that is it used to be people were like, oh, I'm just going to rely on Social Security. And that wasn't enough. And then now I'm going to rely on whatever Social Security gives me plus my 401k, and that's not enough. And I can tell you, for me, your story, listening to it, we take what has gone on in our life and how we apply it. I probably don't have enough to really ever truly retire, because in my head, I feel like the third question you mentioned, like, I like the lifestyle I'm accustomed to, and I don't dig ditches for a living. I host a podcast. I help small businesses with their marketing. So I'm not really out there breaking my back. But part of it for me is I watched my dad retire early and his brain went to mush. My dad was a sharp dude. Like you could have a conversation with him. He would see the angles to business. And that's who I grew up idolizing, is this person. And watching him retire early and sit around and watch Westerns on TV or do-it-yourself channels, his brain went to mush. So part of my, like you talk about your mom seeing her and it affects you. For me, seeing my dad go through that, I'm like, you know what? I really don't know if I ever really want to retire. I have flexibility to do what I want as an entrepreneur. I want to enjoy it, but I still want to be able to be out there and meeting with people until I physically just can no longer do it. So yeah, man, I love hearing that.
You mentioned Social Security. If you go on usdebtclock.gov and you look at the debt clock, I don't know if you've ever seen that. Right now, Social Security, last time I checked, was a little over 1.4 trillion. And you're thinking, 1.4 trillion in Social Security, that sounds pretty nice, right? Medicare has, I think, about 1.7, 1.8 trillion. But if you scroll down to the bottom of that usdebtclock.org,
right,
Social Security and benefits paid out in the next 7 to 10 plus years, we're $27 trillion in the deficit just on Social Security. Medicare deficit is in the red. I think it was 34 or 37 trillion dollars. So you're over $60 trillion in the deficit to pay out these benefits for people that are going to be retiring soon. So that's one of the things we talk about and show people and educate people about is, do you think taxes are going to stay the same, go down, or go up in the future?
Don't count on that. Yeah, you can't count on that for sure.
You don't know. But if you think taxes are going to go up in the future and you're saving all of your money in tax deferred accounts only to pay higher taxes in retirement,
yeah,
that's not a smart way to go, right? So, we had, again, education. Education is the big thing. So getting the word out there, educating people.
If I want to get educated, what is the best way for me to get a hold of you and or your team?
So our website's www.paradigmcapitalfl.com, FL for Florida.
Yep.
My phone number is 727-278-3645. And then again, we're right here at the Wiregrass Mall, right up here at Signature Workspace in Suite 216.
So, folks, if you're listening to this or watching it on our YouTube channel, Scott Whatley, the president of Paradigm Capital Group, we're right here in Wesley Chapel. If you are in the area and you want to stop by, you can go see him in Suite 216. If you want to give him a phone call, you can reach out to 727-278-3645 or go to paradigmcapitalfl.com, and Scott's team can help you out, whether you have money in your 401k and you're looking to roll it over, or you're just getting started and you're 21 or 51. Contact him and his team and they'll help you out today. Scott, thank you for being a good neighbor. Thank you for being on the Good Neighbor podcast with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Passcode. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnppasco.com. That's gnppasco.com or call 813-922-3610.